Hi, welcome back to the Mental Health and Addiction YouTube channel. This is episode 22. Democracy, stability, mental health, addiction, and society. Our community, our collective community. I use this as a prop today. Biden has requested that everyone, it's not a mandate, but he requested that everyone wear a mask for 100 days and in order to help stop the spread of coronavirus, because we still have many vaccines to go. Biden actually inherited a non-existent coronavirus vaccine distribution plan and must start from scratch. So there's that. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on. The Capitol riot, insurrection and treason, occurred due to misinformation and lies, propaganda that had permeated so deeply in people's minds and really identities for some that they stormed the Capitol. People died. You've all seen the videos, so at least I hope you have. If you haven't, please check them out. There's a lot of stuff, and that was not Antifa. Why would Antifa go mess up something that supposedly they want, which is a Democrat in office? Why would they go mess that up? It doesn't make any sense, first of all. Second of all, it was all white supremacists and Trump supporters who were just caught up, and many of them were white supremacists. There were Proud Boys there. It's sad to say that a lot of the stuff was driven by religious fervor and beliefs in outrageous things about others. Anyhow, there has been too much fear in the air. Trying to overthrow the government, by the way, is selfish. The Democrats have never tried to overthrow the government whenever the person they wanted to win didn't win. Even when, in the past, it has felt like the elections have been stolen from us. Case in point, Bush v. Gore in 2000. When Trump was actually elected the first time, that was just like, how the hell did that happen? No one saw that coming. And I don't know, many people didn't see it coming. So anyway, but trying to overthrow the government is very selfish. And I don't even know if you can call these Republicans, because they were Trump supporters. And they felt that he was sent by God to take out an underground pedophile sex trafficking ring operated by the Hollywood elite and Democrats all over. Also includes cannibalization of, I guess, the same alleged children that are supposedly being trafficked by those who are Democrats, powerful Democrats in office, to other Democrats in office, and apparently even those who support the Democrats must know about it. So, we've been demonized. The party's been demonized, but it has come out that, they were all lies, and the former president lied to the country, and people believed it. And a lot of people's beliefs are kind of crashing in on them, and what they thought to be true, and just believed with all the faith they had to be true, and they believed those the videos that have been doctored and stuff like that about. I'm not going to get into it because it's just so ridiculous. But anyway, the division, mistrust, paranoia, and all of the fear in the air has been driven by this propaganda, salacious lies, and it was with the purpose of making us fear ourselves to the point of the self-fulfilled prophecy, but failed coup that left many people dead. I've heard that now 7 people have died. That's just the latest number I've heard, but 5 for sure. These are deadly, dangerous lies peddled by even our own elected officials in government, who all knew better. Every one of them. The Biden administration will have to start at square one because there was no coronavirus vaccine distribution plan. There was none. They lied about how many doses that there were, and so that's what the Biden administration is inheriting. I do want to say happy democracy, you guys. We are under new management, and I think it is very healthy to know about your government. So when we understand what's going on around us, it can build confidence in ourselves and understanding what's going on and being able to have an opinion in important things in life. I think it's very healthy. No matter your opinion, as long as you have the truth, it's healthy. The world as we know it was almost overthrown, but we prevail. But it was a very close call. Very close. They were out to kill. They were very organized and had help from within government, is what the evidence is currently showing. This propaganda that I've been talking about infiltrated anyone, military, police officers, elected officials, professional people, our representatives. Some of them even may have bought into this if it wasn't just an outright lie on their part. No one seemed totally immune to these lies. They were salacious. There was a lie for every person's possible trigger point. There were so many, we were flooded with them. And if there was an opinion that you may have held, there was a lie for you, designed exactly to pull you down into the rabbit hole. This was designed. And just on my opinion, I do believe it would be very unhealthy for the country in the long run and in the immediate. I think it would be better for us to pursue all those who participated in the attempt to overthrow the government. It would be very unhealthy not to pursue that. This was an attempted coup. This was treason. This was insurrection, incited by people already in office, in powerful positions in government. And more information is going to come out about how very, very close it was, because the one police officer who led the group of people who were coming up the stairs, and angry people coming up the stairs, he happened to lead them in the opposite direction of where, wow, they could have done so much damage. They were out to kill. They built a gallows with a noose outside the Capitol. They had zip tie cuffs. They were prepared to take hostages and to kill people. They were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Well, and they had a gallows with a noose. And that was also a lot of, they were incited to that. There was mob mentality with that. Nonetheless, they all committed insurrection and treason, as did those who incited it. Yeah. So, and by the way, Black Lives Matter has never done anything in an effort to overthrow the government. People, it was different. Black Lives Matter people were treated like those insurrectionists should have been treated. Period. I'll just say that. No more playing politics. Life is not a game. It is serious. Democracy and government is serious. We nearly lost it this month. And it may still be in danger from those who sought to overthrow the government that first time. Maybe they learned something. FBI says there's a lot of chatter, which, is basically the way that they're able to learn about what people are talking about online and specific acts and things like that specifically. Someone was arrested trying to get into the restricted area in DC a few days before the inauguration with 500 rounds of ammo and some kind of weapon of some kind, a gun of some kind, and possibly some other stuff. But DC is a no-gun zone, so, and they're trying to go through a checkpoint like that. Just, he was arrested, but he apparently had wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. And those were his words, according to the article I read, which was not from some, crappy source. Anyhow, we must ensure the strength of government and that government works for everyone. By the way, a lot of times new administrations, such as Biden's did, they will have every appointee sign an ethics pledge. And it's kind of meant as a way to drain the swamp. Well, Trump, as one of his final acts, released all of his people who signed the ethics pledge from what they signed that was within that ethics pledge. Is one of his last acts before he was no longer president. So he failed to drain the swamp. He had him right in there and gave him carte blanche at the end. In the end, anyhow, I want to talk about Biden's executive orders. Biden plans to roll out dozens of executive orders in his first 10 days as president. About 10 days. Let's see. He did some decrees on Wednesday after the inauguration to reverse some of President Trump's most hotly disputed policies. Hopefully it will, and it's, they're hoping to establish a sense of momentum for the new president. even as the Senate puts his predecessor on trial. So, we'll talk about the executive orders in a moment. Well, actually, I'll just talk about that in a moment here. So, the first 10 days, this is like an outline. There we go, man. First 10 days. January 20th, we rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, reversed the ban on immigration from certain Muslim-majority countries, extend the pause on student loan payments and interest, and the 100-day mask challenge, which was what I was speaking of earlier. And it is required on federal property and apparently in interstate travel. Not a bad idea. It can't hurt. Extending the restrictions on evictions and foreclosures, so that people don't get kicked out when they can't work and stuff. Sending comprehensive immigration legislation to Congress. January 21st, issue a number of executive actions related to COVID testing, protecting workers, and reopening schools. January 22nd, cabinet agencies are to take immediate action to deliver economic relief to working families. January 25th through February, February 1st, will be a number of executive orders, directives, and other actions planned to advance the following policy priorities: strengthening the Buy American provisions, which is good, we need that. Advancing equity and support for communities of color, definitely need that. That includes poor people, all poor people, yes. Begin criminal justice reform. That is a big one because the minority groups of, racial groups have been subject to, extreme systematic injustice in the system. Specifically, criminal justice reform has been needed for that and other reasons for so very long. We need to end the war on drugs too. Anyway, he's going to sign some executive actions relating to climate change, taking some first steps to expand access to health care for poor and underserved communities, including those of communities of color, which typically have less access to health care. And initiating actions to reunite families that have been separated at the border. That is all excellent stuff. Great stuff. Okay, so on the first day he was in office, he issued 17 executive orders. What were they? Let's see. And this is from... I got this online. Let's see. Okay. In 17 executive orders, memorandums, and proclamations signed hours after his inauguration, President Biden moved swiftly on Wednesday to dismantle Trump administration policies his aides have caused the greatest damage to the nation. Despite an inaugural address that called for unity and compromise, Mr. Biden's first actions as president are sharply aimed at sweeping aside former President Donald J. Trump's pandemic response, or lack of it, reversing his environmental agenda, which was horrible, tearing down his anti-immigration policies, which were racist, bolstering the teetering economic recovery, and restoring federal efforts to promote diversity. Good stuff. Here's a look at what the measures aim to accomplish on the pandemic. Appointing Jeffrey Zients as the official COVID-19 response coordinator who will report to the president in an effort to aggressively gear up the nation's response to the pandemic. He's going to be the official COVID-19 response coordinator, so that's good. and it restores the Directorate for Global Health Security and Biodefense at the National Security Council, a group Mr. Trump had disbanded. Yeah. So there's not a national mask mandate, but he's requesting that everyone start 100 days of masking. It's a challenge he's urging all Americans to wear masks, and state and local officials to implement public measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And we are also going to be reinstating ties with the World Health Organization after the Trump administration chose to withdraw our membership and funding last year. Dr. Anthony Fauci will be the head of the U.S. delegation to the WHO's executive board, and will jump into the role with a meeting this week. On immigration, Mr. Biden's bolstered the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, that protects them from deportation if they were immigrants brought to the United States as children, often called dreamers. Mr. Trump sought for years to end the program, known as DACA. The order also calls on Congress to enact legislation providing permanent status and a path to citizenship for these immigrants who were brought here as children. Excellent stuff. They don't know any other country. See, another executive action revokes the Trump administration's plan to exclude non-citizens from census count. That was a horrible policy by Trump. And overturn another Trump executive order that pushed aggressive efforts to find and deport unauthorized immigrants. Yet another order blocks the deportation of Liberians who have been living in the United States. In a blow to one of his predecessors' earliest actions to limit immigration, Mr. Biden has also ended the so-called Muslim ban, which blocked travel to the U.S. from several predominantly Muslim and African countries. President Biden's directed the State Department to restart visa processing for these individuals from the affected countries, and to develop ways to address the harm caused to those who were prevented from coming to the U.S. because of the ban, which was also, by the way, enacted during while the people were, in the middle of trying to seek asylum and stuff like that. It really screwed things up. There's going to be no more construction of this border wall with Mexico. It's going to be an immediate termination on the national emergency declaration that allowed the Trump administration to redirect billions of dollars to the wall. We're going to begin a close review of the legality of the effort to divert federal money to fund the wall, which was illegal. On climate change, we're going to re-enter into the Paris Climate Accords within 30 days from now, because Trump notified the United Nations that the U.S. would withdraw from the coalition of nearly 200 countries working together to move away from planet-warming fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas. We've got to look forward to renewable energy, so that's wonderful. He's going to revoke the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. Excellent. Reversing the rollbacks of vehicle emission standards, undoing the slash to the size of several national monuments, enforcing a temporary moratorium on oil and natural gas leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and reestablishing a working group on the social costs of greenhouse gases. Wow, that's good. He's also working on racial and LGBT equality, or LGBTQ. He will end the Trump administration's 1776 Commission, which released a report on Monday that historians said had basically were trying to distort the role of slavery in the United States, among other history. So Biden revoked Trump's order limiting the ability of federal agencies, contractors, and other institutions to hold diversity inclusion trainings. I probably read that wrong, but it's a good thing what he's doing. We're rooting out systematic racism, and we're not whitewashing history, is what this basically boils down to under Biden. And robust interagency effort requiring all federal agencies to make rooting out systemic racism central to their works, directing agencies to review and report on equity in their ranks within 200 days, including a plan on how to remove barriers to opportunities in policies and programs. The order also moves to ensure Americans of all backgrounds have equal access to federal government resources, benefits, and services. It starts a data working group as well as the study of new methods to measure and assess federal equity and diversity efforts. Another executive order reinforces Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to require that federal government does not discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity, a policy that reverses action by Mr. Trump's administration. He didn't want those people to have, us people, to have protection. That includes me. I am gay. On the economy, we are going to extend a federal moratorium on evictions, and it has asked agencies including agricultural, VAH, and urban development departments to prolong a moratorium on foreclosures and federally guaranteed mortgages that was enacted in response to the coronavirus pandemic. The extensions all run through at least the end of March. The president's moving to continue a pause on federal student loan interest and principal payments through the end of September, although progressive groups and some congressional Democrats have pushed Mr. Biden to go much further and cancel up to $50,000 in student debt per person. I definitely support that. I have student debt that I can no longer use because I'm disabled, or I can no longer benefit from because I'm disabled and I can no longer pay for it. So government accountability is another one. Following in the footsteps of some of his predecessors, Mr. Biden has established ethics rules, remember I talked about that, for those who serve in his administration that aim to restore and maintain trust in the government. He's ordered all of his appointees in the executive branch to sign an ethics pledge. Yes. Now, let's see. I've already talked about the 17 executive orders as much as I want to. And anyway, so these are 10 days of actions that Biden has planned for 4 overlapping and compounding crises. That's a plural of crisis. I'm not saying you guys are dumb or nothing. Sorry. People don't know. I don't know. So anyway, we're ramping up our COVID-19 fight because, as I said, the Trump administration had no plan. They were saying they left it up to the states, but the states didn't have funding, didn't have any direction or guidance from the government other than it's up to you. You know, didn't have funding. Come on, not proper funding, not real plans to distribute, not funding to distribute. Anyway, so, and this may sound controversial, but for those of you who don't want to wear masks, you know, you may feel like you don't have COVID, or maybe you don't, but you could be exposed to it, especially being that you're not wearing a mask, which could expose others to it. And that germ that you breathe out could have someone's name on it, much like a stray bullet can have someone's name on it. And it could make someone sick, possibly cause them to die. You may not know that person. You would probably never meet them because maybe you're just at the supermarket and it's in passing and someone gets it, and then their elderly grandparents get it, and someone may end up losing a loved one. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not real and doesn't happen. Please protect other people as well as your community you live in and yourself. Stability, truth, understanding, and communication is paramount. not the price of gas or the stock market. It doesn't make sense for such a trade-off. I've seen people posting, in 1 year from now, I'm going to look back at this saying, price of gas is this, the stock market is here. Did you not write down 400,000 people are dead? And that's the trade-off for that great stock market and lack of real aggressive policy to end the pandemic, when we could have prevented 84% of the deaths, I believe it was, if we had just acted 2 weeks earlier. Delay in action. Wow, just caused so much death and suffering. Not a good trade-off. So screw how much money you save on gas. Sorry. Now, it can feel like some of us are living on different planets right now. Some people are still clinging to lies as if their very existence is at stake. Don't place your value of yourself on something like that. It's okay to be wrong. Being able to admit that you were wrong is just shows that you're able to think for yourself, and that you're able to do self-reflection and stuff like that. So I think being able to admit that some of the things that you believed were wrong, if not anything you believe, anything from QAnon was definitely a lie. Anyhow, so it feels like some of us can be living on different planets right now. And unity doesn't mean forgetting about treason and insurrection for any reason. People were killed over lies. They may feel lost at this point, those who believed in that. But many of those same people who now feel lost, if that had gone the way they wanted it to go, they would be thinking that they were heroes, and they'd still be believing the lies. And guess who'd be paying for those lies? The innocent people who the lies were about. Democrats. They wanted a race war, a civil war. The white supremacists wanted that, and they took advantage of people's, these thin blue line flags and stuff like that, as if, and they did really, the police treated them differently, but it doesn't make treason okay. No. And in an even further affirmation of the total and absolute incompetence of the Trump administration's dismal failures and wildly dangerous lies meant to divide us and blame each other for Trump's extremely acute failures, he has, I told you about this. He pardoned basically anyone from who didn't follow an ethics pledge. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on, but relief is on its way. There's a new sheriff in town, if you will. He's not in bed with the corporate interests. He is fighting for all Americans. He wants all Americans to have a happier life, a better life, the kind of life we pursue, and in the pursuit of happiness. And really, that is the American dream. It's not to have a religious-based government, or to have your way or no way. Because if your person doesn't get elected, guess what? You can try again in 4 years, but you can't overthrow the government. That's anti-democratic, it's illegal, and it's treason, which I believe there's a pretty harsh punishment for. Anyway, I think it's good to know what's going on in the world. In order to become stable, you've got to understand it. So I don't know what on earth it could be like right now for those who are suffering addiction during the pandemic and during just such upheaval from society, of society, for society, and hatred towards one another. This division is meant to divide us, and divide us it has. United we stand, divided we fall. We fail when we're divided, and we failed. Trump failed. He divided us, and he failed, though he had much support. Somehow, the lies. But imagine had he been able to steal the election. Imagine the lies that would have continued. Imagine the authoritarianism that the Trump thumb we would have been under, and the little iron fist for all those who don't basically worship him. It's a scary thought. It really is, because many people would never have known that it was all lies, and Democrats would be beating their drums and doing their best to get the truth out there amidst all the fire hose of propaganda that has been and would have continued to get stronger, has been coming on strong and would have continued exponentially. We would have lost our country. And I thank God that we didn't. I prayed a lot about this, about the fear that something was going to happen. How did they not see this coming on January 6th? Supposedly, there were memos issued, and even I could see online and while watching the news that there were reports of people that were going to go to the Capitol to storm it with guns. I even knew that. I said something's going to happen that day. I told Cody, my boyfriend, and he was like, why do you think something's going to happen that day? And I was like, it just is, because they're certifying the votes that day. They're going to try to stop it. That's what people are talking about on the internet. And on the news, they've mentioned the chatter that they've had about it. Yet, me, I can't do anything about that. Why didn't, and I'm sure he did, the sergeant at arms who rightfully, disgracefully is resigned. It was a horrible failure on his part not to be prepared. They needed much more presence. They didn't want to show it outside. It needed to be inside, because there was a crowd of so many people out there, and they were angry, and we knew they were going to do some outrageous things. I was not surprised that they stormed the Capitol, but I was surprised at how damn close we came to losing our seat at democracy. You may think it's not that serious. You may think, oh, that was never going to happen. It would have never happened. Please watch some real news. Please watch or read some AP or Reuters, something that's definitely unbiased. Just please read something other than Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax, OAN, America's Voice. I know you guys don't like some channels like CNN, but they talk sense, you guys. They really do. And they speak the truth. Just do whatever you can to get away from sources like Fox News and the others I mentioned, and others that are like geared towards a certain viewpoint. I mean, CNN does not advertise as being geared with a certain viewpoint. In my true and honest opinion, they are realistic. I disagree with some of the things that many of the people say on there. I think some of the stuff they say, I think is kind of nutty, but that's okay. I think that they are being true to what they feel and being as honest as they can with themselves when they say stuff, because I believe that good reporting is getting all sides, and we've got to get accuracy from both sides, all sides, whether they're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever. But we've got to get accuracy. No more misinformation. Facts only, please. CNN fact checks their stuff, by the way. They have a fact-checking department. It's true. If they ever do make a little mistake, and it's never really a big one at all, they'll correct it, and they won't just do it at the end of the show or something. They'll issue a correction when they get it, and they'll usually get it pretty quick, because they'll be like, "Oh wait, that was wrong. Fact check." But I've only seen that happen maybe 3-4 times in my adult life, I guess. I don't know. Not many times, but they admit to their mistakes, and they are true to themselves, which means that they don't often make mistakes. You don't make mistakes when you are speaking your heart and speaking your truth. You just don't. But if you're speaking lies, whether you realize they are lies or not, mistakes are made, in fact, because they are lies. And in order to get to a lie or talk about a lie, it's got to be, stitched in somehow to the fabric of, this lie has to look real. So it has to be, there's lies all around it to incorporate it into the truth. And, someone's like, oh, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. You need to trust your gut instinct. Don't trust that feeling of warmth when it's like, oh my God, I knew they were so horrible people. I knew they were evil. Because of something you read on or heard, or a video that's, these deep fake videos, I'm telling you, they look real. But these are debunked videos. They can be fact checked. Everything, I promise you, everything can be fact checked. And I really, really encourage absolutely everyone. I do this every time I talk about this, but I encourage everyone, please, to fact check the things that you believe, the negative things you believe about others. Whether others is people in the other party who you just feel like we must protect America from at all costs, even at the cost of Donald Trump. which people believed. They believed he was sent by God, though. But would God really send a man like Donald Trump, who's a sexual predator, a compulsive habitual liar, a greedy con man? I could go on. And none of these things are disputed or disputable. They're facts. If you don't know these facts about Donald Trump, and you still support him, I've mentioned this before. Please search for on Netflix. I believe it's still on Netflix. It's a series called Dirty Money. And they start talking about Donald Trump in a couple of the episodes, and then again in season 2 or 3. But nonetheless, watch it. Please watch it. You can't fake what happened. Watch it. It's real. People that have worked for him for nearly their entire lives have stories to tell. Terrible, sad, terrible stories of abuse and greed to the point of just obscenity. That was the president. Now, if you're tired of that president and don't want to hear anything else about him, and you didn't support him nor believe him, move on. But if you did believe some of the things that he said, you could, and this is not anything, a weakness about you or a negative thing about you, but you can know just in yourself, in your heart, whether or not you were susceptible to some propaganda or some techniques that were used to maybe draw you into a rabbit hole or a belief, a set of beliefs about, some things that are just unrealistic, and, your belief, the things that you've believed in are kind of falling apart around you. Maybe you're susceptible to some propaganda, and I think it's important for those of us, in society who may have, fallen for the trick or in lie and big lies that are propaganda techniques which were used by, the Trump supporters, or were used on